Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got a wild one for you. It's a story that starts with, a simple piece of software, but then it just spirals out into this huge plan to reshape everything: family life, national economies, and even global power. So let's start with this question right here. What if an AI could guarantee your kid would earn 240 million Vietnamese dong? I mean, that's the central, really audacious promise of this new venture. It's this blend of AI, high-stakes finance, and, well, a pretty huge national vision. It's a claim so bold you just have to ask, what is going on here? Okay, so to make sense of all this, we're going to break it down. We'll peel back the story in 4 layers. First, the product itself, this AI for your lover. Then that insane 240 million guarantee. After that, we'll meet the people behind it all, the masters and apprentices. And finally, we'll get into the grand vision, a new world order. Let's get into it. All right, let's dive into that first layer, the product pitch. So what are they actually selling? The whole thing is built around a piece of software with a very intriguing name. AI cares for your lover. So what is this thing? At its heart, it's an AI software. The people behind it say it's kind of like ChatGPT, a consultant that's supposed to give you really valuable advice to improve pretty much every part of your life, from personal stuff to your business. But it's not just one thing. This single product is actually broken down into 3 different pieces. You've got AI for kids, AI for family, and AI for business. Each one is aimed at a totally different part of your life. And yeah, each of these has a really specific goal. The AI for kids is all about education, and this is the big one we'll get to, guaranteed earnings. Then there's AI for family, which is more focused on health and wellness, pushing things like detox products. And finally, AI for business is pretty straightforward. Boost profits, make things more efficient. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about getting some helpful tips from an AI. No, it's about a very real, very concrete financial result. And that brings us right to the second and probably the most controversial part of this whole thing, the financial promise. So get this. For the AI for Kids product, which costs you 24 million dong, they make this just stunning guarantee. The promise is that your kid will earn 240 million dong. That's a full 10 times what you paid. To put that in perspective, we're talking about 10,000 US dollars. A 10x return, they say, is guaranteed. And if it doesn't happen, you get all your money back. It's a crazy promise. And this is where the details of that guarantee get, a little weird. The guy who's the face of the project, Nguyen He Ha, he's adamant that this isn't their promise. He claims it's backed by major banks in Vietnam, like BIDV and ACB. But then, and this is the strange part, he says they don't actually tell you which bank to go to. Why? Apparently it's to avoid any suspicion of backroom deals. So the whole guarantee works on this really strict timeline. First up, you've got 3 months where the AI is just gathering data. Then the clock starts. You have 9 months to follow the AI's plan and actually earn that 240 million. And if you don't hit the target, there's a 10-day window at the end where the bank is supposed to process your full refund. It's all very structured. Okay, so we have this AI product with a wild financial promise on top of it. The next logical question is, who? Who is making these incredible claims? To get that, we need to look at the people at the center of this story. And it's a pretty small but really fascinating cast of characters. All right, so who have we got? First, you've got Nguyen Gai Ha. He's the main speaker, the public face of the whole thing. Then, sort of lurking in the background, is this mysterious mentor in Japan they just call the master. The actual proof that this all works, that comes from 2 teenage sisters, the apprentices. And then, supporting it all, you have this community of what they call silent shareholders who are basically funding the project. And this quote here from one of the apprentices, it really gets to the core of what they're trying to sell, this idea of discipline. These 2 teenage sisters, they're held up as these perfect models. They're working these super long hours as waitresses, not even for the money, but to learn about service and, mental toughness. And that story, that's a huge part of their training. And frankly, a huge part of their sales pitch. And apparently that training really paid off. Because, and get this, Based on literally nothing more than a business model for a company called the Future Billionaire Academy, these two apprentices supposedly landed 50 million dong in angel investment. That's over 2 grand in US dollars. For a 5% stake in a company that had no product and zero revenue. It was just an idea. Okay, so now we're ready to peel back the final and by far the most ambitious layer of this whole story. Because according to the creator, this project, it isn't just about selling AI software or even making money. Nope, it's about fundamentally changing the world. And when you look at the numbers tied to this grand vision, they are just astronomical. I mean, we are talking about plans to funnel up to $450 billion of Japanese investment into Vietnam. There's a simulation they talk about that claims their AI could turn 10,000 bucks into $43 billion. The whole vision is built on these just almost unbelievable figures. And this right here is where the whole thing explodes, from a business idea into full-blown geopolitics. The stated goal is, well, it's nothing less than helping Japan break its security treaty with the United States. And how are they going to do that? By creating this brand new Vietnamese workforce just for Japanese companies and housing them in a giant tax-free zone made by literally renting 3 whole provinces. And the ultimate endgame? To make Vietnam a completely tax-free nation by 2050. It's huge. So where is this all coming from? Well, according to the speaker, this entire plan, this massive geopolitical and economic transformation, is all laid out in a huge 999-page book. The document, apparently written in Japanese, was supposedly sent to the Prime Minister of Japan, the Bank of Japan, all the top players. It ties this grand vision to a physical thing, an almost mythical artifact. So where does that leave us? Let's recap. We have an AI software pitch. It's wrapped in a financial guarantee. It's driven by the story of a mysterious Japanese master and his teenage apprentices, and it's all supposedly in service of a plan to completely alter global politics. The big question is, what is this? What are we actually looking at here? You know, this whole case is just a fascinating example of how persuasion works today. You've got this blend of something real, a product, with these big, powerful, intangible ideas, things like identity, destiny, national pride. It really leaves you with a critical question for the world we live in now. When you're faced with stories this compelling, how do any of us separate the story from the reality?